We got Jason Priester stopping by from the Clemson Insider. Hey, Jason.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Hanging in there, bud. Hanging in there.
Hanging in. Gearing up for the big spring game or whatever we call it this time around.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what it's going to be this time around. I'm kind of anxious to see. You know, they've had so many guys banged up this spring that were recovering from procedures from last season. They didn't, there were a lot of guys in yellow when the spring started, and then you get your regular accumulation of guys getting banged up and held up throughout the spring. I will see what they have. Dabo's talked about, it being different this year. Talking about doing some 7-on-7 and some good on good and maybe into a scrimmage. So we'll see what happens.
Did anybody get banged up during spring?
Right off the top of my head, when spring started, offensive lineman Tristan Lee was in a yellow jersey. He was recovering from an off-season procedure on his ankle or his foot. I can't remember, but they ended up going in and cleaning it up. And he was on a scooter the last time we were allowed into practice. So that was something new, but nothing major or anything like that. Golly, there was somebody, I forget now who it was in a boot the last time we were there. I forget who it was, though, off the top of my head. But there's been nothing serious or nothing that's going to keep anybody out from fall camp that I'm aware of.
Jason, did I see that Clemson lost its prized long snapper to Florida State?
Yeah. It's the nature of the beast with these new roster limits and stuff. He was going to have to he was enrolling at Clemson this summer. Alex Naka is his name. He's from down in Florida. He was going to enroll this summer and not join the football team and go on scholarship until January, I think it was. But he wasn't going to be on the football team until next season, really. So Florida State offers him a spot on the team this year. He's got a scholarship that's going to pay for his tuition this year that's available in the state of Florida because he lives there and is great. So, I mean, it's something that makes a lot of sense to him, man. He's a kid I've had conversations with several in the past year or so, and I'm sure if in a perfect world, if he could have went to Clemson, that's where he would have went because he turned down some PWO offers to go to Clemson and not play this year, and he was going to serve in some kind of student assistant role or something like that. But the fact that he's not going to have to pay anything out of pocket this year and join the team in Florida State, for this season, I think that was too much of an opportunity for him to pass up.
What I've noticed in recent years, Jason, of course, with the spring game, with all these teams across the country, we think of that as being the final day of spring practice. You have spring practice, then you obviously have a game, and that's it. And we'll see you later. What I've noticed with some of these teams, what they've done recently, and this makes a whole lot of sense, is they'll play their spring game or whatever it is, and then they'll actually go at it one more time and just maybe walk through it because they'll watch the spring game on tape. And the coaches want to address some issues and some problems and fix a few things before they head out. But is Saturday it for Clemson?
Saturday is it. I don't, looking at the schedule, that's the last thing on there. So I'm assuming that's it. That's usually the way it is. I doubt Dabo's changed it. That's usually the last practice of the spring. They'll have their 14 or whatever, and then the spring practice will be practice number 15. Or whatever number it is that you're allowed to have during the spring. But yeah, that's not something Clemson, that's not the route Clemson's gone down in recent years. It's usually everything leading up to the big spring game. And again, it's going to be different this year. Make no mistake, it's not even going to be on television. We've already talked about that, but that'll be it once they get through that Saturday.
Jason Priester's here from the Clemson Insider. You see his X handle right there, both his personal handle and, of course, with the Clemson Insider. So check out Jason's work right there as Clemson finishes things out this Saturday. And actually, Clemson and West Virginia are the only power conference teams I see on the slate for Saturday. Most teams finish up either the 12th, the 19th, or the 26th. So the next 3 weeks are slammed with spring games. But this first weekend of April, Clemson pretty much has attention to itself. If actually people could watch the game, but they can't watch the game, so they're not going to have all this attention. But hey, that's what Dabo's decided. Has anything? I know there's still basically 4 to 5 practices left, so only about 10 or 11 out of 15 done. But has anything happened that means anything?
I would say a couple of the bigger things that we've kind of been tracking and hearing about this spring are the emergence of freshman running back Gideon Davidson. He has been raved about by Dabo, Garrett Riley, teammates. He seems to have picked up things very quickly. We'll really find out once we get into fall camp, but he seems to have picked up things very quickly. He's certainly physically ready to play as a freshman. So he's one of the guys that have really stood out this spring. I think Adam Randall would be another one. I've kind of been on the fence about his move, even though I think him moving from receiver to running back was good for him. I've kind of been on the fence about how much we would actually see him play this year, and if he gets significant carries. It's kind of starting to sound like he will. It sounds like he's having, or his transition's kind of been, fairly smooth. I'm not saying it's been all smooth, but fairly smooth. All the practices that we've been allowed in to see, he's been first in line, even though, to be fair, Jay Haynes is out this spring. So it sounds like Clemson's in a better spot at running back. There's been a lot of raving about freshman defensive tackle Amari Adams. Clemson's kind of got a lot of depth there at defensive tackle. We'll see if he can kind of crack the too deep there and get on the field for any kind of like significant reps this season. But that's a bright star of the future. You're hearing all the right things about Chris Vizina, the backup, who seems to be the heir apparent to Cade Klubnik after he's done this season. Still got to see it, but you're at least hearing the right things, and we're hearing all the right things about the wide receiver room. It's kind of been down the last several years, kind of took a step back up last year with those freshmen, Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. Now you get Tyler Brown back healthy. Antonio Williams kind of putting off the NFL for a year and coming back. What was a huge bump to that group. So Clemson's got a lot of talent to work with when it comes to the pass catchers. I know you lose Jake Brenningstool, but you have Christian Betancourt who redshirted last year and looks like he's going to be a really good tight end for Clemson, and Olsen Pat Henry, who's kind of gotten his feet wet the past couple of years. And there's a freshman, Logan Brooken, who they've been saying all the right things about too. We'll see if he can avoid a red shirt this year. He certainly looks the part already. But probably the biggest thing is Tom Allen's impact on the defense. It's like it's any player that gets asked about it in post-practice interviews, any recruit you talk to who's visited this spring, they say you can tell it just the vibe in that defensive room or on the defensive side of the field is just different. He's routinely heard telling players in practice that we're going to be the best tackling team in the country. That's an area they did not excel in a year ago. He's already, Peter Woods was talking the other day about how, I might come into practice and maybe I'm not in the right mindset. I'm not having a good day or whatever. And I look over and I see Tom Allen. He's headbutting Wade Woodaz. And I know I better get in the right mindset now because he's going to bring it each and every day. And when you got that kind of energy level coming from the top, it kind of resonates down, I would say. But to me, that would probably be the biggest thing. He's got that group refocused on fundamentals and the details, and he's not trying to overload them. I think that was one of the things last year with Wes Goodwin, that he was maybe overloading them with scheme and some of the fundamental stuff, and the minor details got lost in all that. But Tom Allen seems to be taking the opposite approach. He's kind of simplified it down a lot, and they're spending a lot more time focusing on the fundamentals, which this team was not good at defensively last year.